A legendary weekend in the Lou. PGA Tour champions compete in the Stifel Charity Classic, presented by Compliance Solutions, September 4th through 7th, and COAR. Perform live with your Friday ticket. Visit StifelCharityClassic.com today.
Good morning and welcome into Card Central 365 on STL Sports Central. I'm your host, Ethan Hannaford, joined today by Hunter Mulholland. Hunter, how you doing on this morning?
Doing all right. I'm excited for a little bit of football as well as the baseball tonight. So looking forward to a great day of sports.
It's a very full day of sports in St. Louis and just throughout the country as well. And specifically here in St. Louis, added on to that, you have a very special day taking place down at the ballpark with three former Cardinals getting inducted into the Cardinals Hall of Fame: Edgar Renteria, Al Hrabosky, and then the late Walt Jocketty as well. So, just to start there, you look back at the history, right, that those three have been able to be a part of. Walt Jocketty, obviously, a huge part of those early 2000s teams and getting the Cardinals in that era of baseball, right, back to being the pinnacle of baseball, right, being one of the best in Major League Baseball. I mean, there's an argument to be made that between 2000 and 2015, the Cardinals were arguably one of, if not the most successful teams in Major League Baseball, and Walt Jocketty had a huge piece of that. You mentioned Al Hrabosky, his impacts both on the field, but also on the microphone all these years, and Edgar Renteria as well as a player. There's a lot to be celebrated, even in a year that's been frustrating. A lot to be celebrated from the Cardinal past this afternoon.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting day for the inductees and Jocketty's family and all that. And so it's going to be really nice to see them honor him, especially after his passing, as well as, and it's weird because you hear some of these names that they induct over the last couple of years, and it's like you forget that the Cardinals Hall of Fame really wasn't a thing for a while. And so some of these names are like, well, he probably already should have been in there, like Hrabosky and Jocketty even. But when you don't have it for as long standing, and they only allow about 3 or 4 every year that they put in. I think it's usually about a class of 3. You start to think, oh wow, I kind of forgot that it's really cool that they're going to honor him, because he probably should already be in there if this was something that was established in the 1980s. Some of these guys, Hrabosky might have been in the early 2000s, and Renteria might be on track in the late 2010s instead of here in 2025. And so it's going to be a fun day to celebrate that. They've also got the 85 celebration weekend going on. They honored that team before last night's game, and have a bunch of the old players back at Busch Stadium, and even Yachty is there this weekend, guest coaching. So it's a full house inside of the Cardinals clubhouse for the Redbirds this weekend, and they really want to show out. And last night was just not what they wanted to do in that celebratory environment. So hopefully they bounce back today against a guy in Justin Verlander who has had a down year, but had a pretty solid outing last time out.
Yeah, let's talk about last night's game real quick before we jump any further. The Cardinals 8-2 losers last night against the San Francisco Giants in Game 1. Seymour clearly had the recipe for success, because the Cardinals could not hit him to save their lives. I think they had 2 hits in 5-6 innings against him. Michael McGreevy really struggled last night. The Giants hit him all over the ballpark, and the Cardinals, not even halfway through the game, were trailing 6-0. They end up dropping the game 8-2. What did you take overall from last night's outing, whether it was Michael McGreevy's poor start, the lack of offense? What did you take?
Well, the lack of offense has been concerning recently. Really since July, the offense has been in this mode of um, we're going to score like 2 runs a game here for like 3 games straight, and then we're going to explode for double digits because why can we not do that consistently? I don't know. Why are we not able? Why are the Cardinals not able to score on a consistent basis? Do certain pitchers just have their number, and they struggle specifically against left-handed pitching? But last night, I really think it was a testament to McGreevy's struggles and his youth. Sometimes you're going to get knocked around at the major league level, and he's young. He's going to learn that. But it's really telling when you look at the Cardinals, when they get quality starts, they typically are on the better side of things. But when you go out there and your bullpen then has to cover 5 innings because your starter only goes 4, which is a consistent problem with the pitching staff recently, of not going deep into games, not getting to the 6th inning, and really taxing your bullpen because Graceffo threw 2 innings last night. Fernandez, Roycroft, and Granillo all threw 1. So you have to think, well, there's 4 arms, at least 1 that's probably not going to throw, and 3 that are going to be towards the back end of the usage pool in the bullpen tonight for the Cardinals. So they're probably going to be running on a thin bullpen. They really need to get a good start out of Andre Pallante. Last night from McGreevy really put them in a tough spot for the rest of the weekend.
And Andre Pallante, one that has been struggling pretty significantly as of recently. So it feels like it's kind of hard to say, okay, Andre Pallante, you need to go out there and you need to throw 6-7 innings because, excuse me, he just hasn't been there in such a long time. You mentioned the offense and how inconsistent it has been over the last couple of months. You mentioned the starting pitching, how poor it has been as of late. Feels like nothing really going right for the Cardinals here down the stretch. But specifically for the offense, I think it is, and while it has been extremely frustrating at times with them, I think that it is important for fans to look at rather than the team's overall production offensively, because definitely are some frustrations and some concerns there, right? But when you look at the season and we know what the purpose behind the year has been, it gives an excuse, and not a bad excuse, but a fair excuse, right, to look more so at each player individually and what they're doing, what they're trying to do, and some of the adjustments that they've been able to make. And I think that there are some positive things to look, even in this couple of months stretch, where it has been, as a whole, inconsistent offensively. I think there are some encouraging signs to take away from different players and different pieces. Now, if it's a year where the Cardinals are, pushing for 90 wins and they are trying to make a run into the postseason, no, that's not what the answer is. That it can't be that. But in a year like this, right, where the entire focus has been on getting a look at each individual and seeing, okay, what can this guy be? What can he be down the road? Can he be a guy that we can rely on to be a piece of the core in 2026 and beyond? I think the Cardinals are getting pretty good ideas, and I think they've seen pretty encouraging things from all these guys. And I think even further, based off of recent words from Ollie Marmol, I think that they have an idea as to also not only what they can improve on here in the final weeks of the year, but going into 2026, for the ones that will be here, not all of them will, but for the ones that will be here, how to specifically improve upon where they're at right now as well.
Yeah, the reason for everything this season, when you have an excuse like that, is really the way that I look at it is this is Heimblum's time to evaluate what he wants for the future and what he doesn't want. If he wants to trade somebody in the offseason, he needs to know exactly what he thinks they're going to project to be to see if he even wants to hold on to them. For guys, I think it really comes down to guys like Gorman and Nootbaar and even Walker and Burleson to an extent. And I think Burleson's earned it to stay. I think Gorman and Nootbaar are probably on the fence a little bit. And I think Walker's really starting to push, especially with the comments from Brant Brown earlier this week. So it is very much this, we want to see what we have. We're going to let the new regime take over and kind of push the envelope and see, well, who's going to do something, and what changes do I have to make in the winter if I'm Hein Bloom? What changes do I have to make this team back to maybe not fully competitive and being, World Series front runners like they have been in the past, but being back competitive and getting back to October next season, which might feel like a far stretch, but I mean, the last 2 seasons right now, last year the Cardinals were over 500. They're only 2 below today. There's a chance that they still end up over 500 this season. And in a season like this, I think I would take that as a win. And then you also get to see, okay, who's going to be a part of it. And with the offense too, you're missing a key cog in Contreras. And so this like 3-game stretch, the remaining 3 games of his suspension, is really this, okay, what does this team really look like without Contreras? Is he on the chopping block because of his contract and the logjam that the Cardinals have with infielders?
I don't expect Contreras to go anywhere, considering the no trade clause, and his it was pretty open about that near the deadline, saying he had no interest in going anywhere. Sonny Gray, maybe a little bit of different story, opened up saying, it seemed like it went more in a direction of, we can touch base on this in the offseason. Gray is set to make $35 million in 2026. Contreras makes $17.5 million a year. More money than you'd like, but there is a purpose behind having veteran leadership in the clubhouse, and no doubt Wilson Contreras is the veteran leader in that clubhouse, or one of them, one of the big ones right now. So he will still serve his purpose, but him being traded away, I think, is pretty unrealistic. But right, it is kind of funny to look at this Cardinals offense and go from having 4 first basemen to none in a matter of days, to the point where Nolan Gorman has to be playing first base. But let's go ahead and let's switch over to the opposite corner of the infield, and that's third base. Last night it was Thomas Ajaysi, and there is word that once again soon it could be Nolan Arenado. We're going to take a quick pause, and we will jump into that in just a moment, but not before we tell you about our lovely sponsor, DraftKings, where the crown is always yours. And it's time to get ready, Missouri, because the wait is almost over. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming soon, right here to the Show Me State, and you can sign up today. New Missouri customers can get $300 in bonus bets when we launch on December 1st. Download now and take a $5 bet when we go live. DraftKings Sportsbook brings everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning-fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when we officially go live in Missouri, you'll be betting with the Sportsbook app trusted by millions. It's safe, it's secure, and it has fast money withdrawals, all things that are important in today's day and age. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when we go live December 1st. That's code STL Sports, STL Sports. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. That one is a tongue twister, but we got through it. Ethan Hannaford, Hunter Mulholland here on Cards Central 365. If you have not already, please like and subscribe. We would really appreciate that. There's all kinds of content here on STL Sports Central. And to be quite frank, there's going to be another show starting just minutes after ours does, because I'm not sure if you people are aware, there's a pretty big game going on in Columbia, Missouri today against the against the Kansas Jayhawks. Forgive me for my word salad this morning. But that'll be an exciting one. Border war, first time in 12, 13, 14 years.
14.
It's been a long time So it'll be exciting to see the Jayhawks and the Tigers face off today. But let's go ahead, Hunter, and let's talk for a couple of minutes on Nolan Arenado, his latest update, where John Denton tweeted out yesterday. Several of the media pieces releasing this, but John Denton's tweet saying Arenado, who rejoined the Cardinals yesterday, hopes to join AA Springfield on Tuesday and play there on a rehab assignment, all or part of 6 days. Then after that, he hopes to be back with the Cardinals for the final 2 weeks of the season. Listen, there's a lot of different opinions, I'm sure, as to what Nolan Arenado rejoining his team at this point, what people think about that. Let's go ahead and start. What are your general thoughts on Nolan Arenado potentially rejoining the Cardinals here in the next couple of weeks?
I would like to see him, take a step in the right direction offensively. And the other question is he going to be part of the team next year? Because that's what it feels weird that, like, obviously you want Nolan Arenado back if you're the Cardinals. You want him to be your cornerstone at third base for the remainder of this season. Is he going to be around? There's been talks of going back to last offseason of him being moved. There was talks at the deadline of him being moved. Nothing happened. And so he was still with the Cardinals. And then he gets injured and he misses, I believe it was 31 so far, 31 games. So it's frustrating to see it happen and see how, if this is really the end of his tenure, this is how it's kind of flaming out. Because he was brought here to cornerstone with Goldie and to win baseball games and win division titles and go and battle for a World Series. And obviously that didn't happen. Aaron Dodson in the comments believes that he will be a part of the team. Bloom doesn't have the guts to move him. I think it's more of Arenado has a no trade clause. And if he doesn't get the team that he wants, he's not going to go. We already saw it with the Astros in the winter. The Astros had a deal for him and Arenado shot it down. So it's going to be very interesting what is going to happen with Arenado. The remainder of the season, I think, is going to be the telling point on if he's around next year. With all of the injuries going on with the Cardinals right now, it is nice to see somebody starting to get back, especially with the infield and how misaligned it feels is what I think I want to say there. It doesn't feel right having Gorman at first base. Obviously, Contreras is gone for the next couple days. It feels weird having when Donovan was out and Arenado were out and everybody was kind of mismatched all over the infield. It felt weird. So it's going to be an interesting sight for the remainder of the season and see how and a welcome sight to see him back, for me at least. I don't know about how you feel about this, Ethan.
I mean, it's tough because, I love Nolan Arenado. I got his jersey hanging up in my closet. Would love to have it on this wall behind me at some point next to Matt Carpenter's signed jersey. But here's the reality. The Cardinals and Nolan Arenado are not aligned as far as the direction they want to head right now. The Cardinals are at least not expected to be a winning ball club in 2026. Nolan Arenado is in the final seasons of his career, or on at least he's in the latter half of his career. And he is not in his prime anymore. He's no longer in his prime. We know how badly Nolan Arenado wants to win. We know that he came to St. Louis because he believed that he could win a championship here. Well, say what you want about that. The organization clearly failed him in their communication regarding that, in taking some of these options and buying in as well. But the reality is that, and not to say Arenado hasn't had a part in that, going hitless in playoff games, he definitely could have contributed, but the Cardinals did not help him by making the team better around him. Here's the reality is that the Cardinals and Nolan Arenado are going in different directions right now. And in an ideal world, Nolan Arenado, that spot remains open for Nolan Gorman to be getting that consistent playing time, for whoever ends up being at second base to get that consistent playing time, because when Nolan Arenado's out there, it's one less spot. It's one less opportunity in these last few weeks of the year for someone else to that you're much more focused on evaluating. At this point when Nolan Arenado is. Jeremy, I love your comment. I would love if Nolan Arenado could get back to being the old Nolan, but it's not going to happen. I want it to happen, but the odds of it actually happening, low, because he's in the latter part of his career. He's out of his prime. He's a different player. He's just a different player now. Offensively, I don't think you're ever going to see the 900 OPS, or I don't even think you can see the 800 OPS Nolan Arenado again, unfortunately. So getting back to that point, I don't think is realistic. So would I much rather see Nolan Gorman, Thomas Ajayci, Brendan Donovan once he's healthy? Name your player. I would almost rather see all of them than Nolan Arenado right now. And that's nothing personal against Arenado. I just don't know if you're going to convince anyone that in these last 2 weeks, if Arenado, even if he goes on a tear, that he's back. I don't think it's going to do anything for his trade value. I know you mentioned the no trade clause. Aaron also commenting saying that Bloom needs to tell Nolan to accept the trade or get waived, and he'll have no choice. Well, here's the reality is that Nolan Arenado earned that no trade clause. He was given that no trade clause, and the Cardinals acquired him knowing he had a no trade clause. To a future Hall of Famer, it's disrespectful, first off. And second off, I think there is a forgetting that it was earned. This was earned. And that's just not the way you go about these things. It's just not. So do you do everything that you possibly can for to find a team that is willing to take Nolan Arenado? Yes. Is the Cardinals ownership going to be willing to bite the bullet and pay the large majority of his contract? That's going to be the question. We know that the Astros deal, what made it so appealing is that they were willing to bite off a big part of that contract. The Cardinals weren't going to have to pay a lot of it. I don't think you get that in 2026. I don't
think you get it now. No.
Yeah.
Last offseason, completely different story. I think there was still the hope that because his second half last year was much better than his first. And so there was a chance that he could have, you earned, okay, maybe he comes back and it doesn't look as bad if we take some of this money. But now the Cardinals are going to end up in the scenario where the Rockies were, which is the Rockies ended up paying a lot. I don't know how the Cardinals got away with that because he was still in his prime at that point. But the Astros deal of we're going to take most of this money is not going to happen because now I think it's clear to everybody the old Nolan is gone. You're trading for him for his still solid defensive play and for when he runs into things offensively.
It's a tough reality as to where the Cardinals are with Nolan Arenado, and that's going to be one of the tougher challenges of this upcoming offseason is how do you go about Nolan Arenado? Is there a way in which you can get that contract off your books, even if you are eating a majority of it, which would be unlike ownership to do that, to pay a player to play for someone else? That would be very unlike them. But I guess it just depends how devoted they are to moving forward. And you can only move forward so much if Nolan Arenado is still going to be playing third base for you every single day. There's some comments in the chat about, well, if he stays, then he's going to have to take a lesser role. Maybe. Ali Marmol also said that if he's going to be with the team, he's going to be playing just about every day. So I don't know what is the right way to go about that. An off-season conversation for sure. Hopefully one that doesn't need to be had because, you have J.J. Weatherholt coming up. You got plenty of options on the infield. There's just no room for Nolan Arenado anymore. So the direction that the Cardinals head is still to be seen. Let's quickly take a look at today's game. It's Andre Pallante taking the mound, who has struggled significantly as of late. He'll be facing off against the future Hall of Famer Justin Verlander, who, like you said, Hunter is coming off of a good start, but is 3-10 with an ERA in the mid-4s in 2025. More notably, Hall of Fame Day, as several notable Cardinal alumni, Edgar Renteria, Al Hrabosky, and the late Walt Jocketty, all getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. But what do you want to see, before we wrap here, last thing, what do you want to see from Andre Pallante in order to maybe in any sort of way be encouraged going into these last couple of weeks?
I would like to see him return to what he did last year that earned him the spot in the rotation in the first place. I think that was kind of the expectation entering this season, was that he was going to be back at that spot. So I would like to see him return to that and maybe get, even if it's just 6 innings out of him. I would like to see 7, try and give the bullpen some off, but I would like to see him at least go 6 and really try and help out that bullpen and let them get some rest before they have to go back at it tomorrow again, and try and get everybody fresh.
All right, there you have it right there from Hunter Mulholland. Plenty of action going on in St. Louis sports today. You got the Cardinals playing at 6:15. You got the Hall of Fame induction ceremony this afternoon, I believe at 3 o'clock. You got Mizzou versus KU at 2:30. You have Illinois versus Duke at 11 o'clock. It is underway out east. And then you have St. Louis City tonight hosting, I believe, FC Dallas as well. Every single sport that I just mentioned, yep, there's a post-game show going on for it on STL Sports Central today, and some preview for the Mizzou-KU game that's going to be getting started around 11:30. So be sure to stay right here on STL Sports Central. Like and subscribe. Follow all of our content on Facebook, X, Instagram, STL Sports Central. We appreciate you being here. We will see you for the post-game tonight. He's Hunter Mulholland. I'm Ethan Hannaford. This has been Card Central 365 on STL Sports Central.